Today, I'm talking about a very weird film. I don't want to risk saying the actual title incorrectly because it's in Czech, but the English translation and the title they use for English speaking areas is Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea. This movie is a ride. It's a sci fi film that came out of Czechoslovakia in 1977. Although, when I checked time-wise, when it was set, it's set in 93 or 95. Sometimes I'll pull up random lists of like a type of sci-fi so that I can see if there's something I haven't come across or seen ahead of that. And this actually showed up on a random list for time travel films. Most of them decently known for sci-fi, and then there was just a couple random ones that were outliers comparatively. This was one of those. So I ended up looking it up and was able to access it on YouTube. So ended up giving it a shot. It's not a problem to share that it's time travel because it's very obvious right from the get-go. It's not something that the climax of the film hinges on you not knowing until it's too late. Right up front. Less than 10 minutes in, you are in a room full of men doing the Heil Hitler salute, which, okay. I watched this quite recently, and given the state of the world, this felt really. It was a film worth talking about because we're seeing these trends on the rise, and to stumble across a time travel comedy that's mocking Hitler, yeah, I can get on board with that. And I feel like other people can get on board with it too. Okay, back to the film though. So it turns out there's a cabal of Nazis who had escaped Germany and were living the good life decades after. Not surprising, since that did happen with any number of actual Nazis. This particular group, they are at this point in this theoretical state in the 1990s where a company has invented time travel. And what the company is using it for is tourism. I know. A little bit of a goofy premise, but also, why wouldn't you time travel to places if you had that option? So this company is specifically giving people a guided tour. Get on one of our rockets. Let our pilot take you back to see the fall of Troy or certain pivotal moments. These Nazis are meeting up in Prague so they can go over a plan that they have managed to come up with to help Hitler. Their idea is to bribe one of the pilots through this tourism time travel company so that instead of going to the destination that it's planned, they will end up going to Germany in 1944 and give Hitler an opportunity to win. Apparently, in the film, there is a museum somewhere in DC, I believe, where there is a hydrogen bomb on display in the museum. Still fully active, which is wild. So they have stolen this bomb, and now with the help of this pilot they're bribing, they will get back, offer it to Hitler, allow him the chance to win the war. Anywho, so the pilot that they're bribing from this company, Universum, his name is Carl, and he actually has a twin. This twin works for the company as well. He apparently was involved in designing the rockets, setting up what was needed to have these time travel flights. So, highly involved, Very different twin from the corrupt pilot. So Carell, he actually is working with one of the Nazis involved, who is a scientist, so that they can have the input and coordinates they need to land precisely on December 8th, 1944, I believe, is what they were planning on. Then it comes the morning of the intended time travel heist. Carell wakes up at home. It becomes very clear that not only is he corrupt and bribable, he's also philandering, gets into debt, doesn't pay people back. A very easy, this guy is scummy. His brother is up as well. The brother, Jan, seems to be the responsible one, whereas Carell is some kind of charismatic to be luring women in like this and convincing people to lend him money and living sort of a high life. Jan is responsible, sort of meek. He clearly has a successful job, and yet he's knuckling under this twin of his. So he's setting up breakfast for the both of them. Carell ends up choking and dying. In a fit of inspiration, Jan is calling Carell's fiance because he has a fiance. And he doesn't want to make her sad, so he instead says, "Oh, I'm Carell. My brother Jan died. I'm so sorry." And decides to step right into Carell's life. Kind of easy for him to do since he designed these rockets, so he can absolutely be a pilot for them. He doesn't know, though, about this deal with Nazis to take over this flight, this specific day, and go back in time. So it goes completely off the rails. You might be asking yourself, how could Nazis that have lived clear through to the 1990s even be able to go back in time and say anything? The plan isn't for them to go back as themselves. Apparently, along with time travel, anti-aging has also been something that they have invented, and people can just take that in pill form. So these men have been living extended lives, not looking as old as they appear, and that is their intention, is to take over their original selves at that point in time. When the heist gets going, it gets all kind of messed up because they don't know that their pilot is not really the pilot they've been bribing. And Jan is trying to fly under the radar and just go along with things because if he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, it kind of unravels taking over the successful life with the better twin. The calculations that they set up for the trip, turns out they weren't entirely accurate. Instead of 1944, when Germany would be very receptive, and Hitler as well, for an opportunity to win the war that they were losing so very badly at that point. No, they land on December 8th, 1941. It is the height of German expansion through the war. Pearl Harbor has just happened and has devastated the U.S. They are living high on their own successes and the U.S. taking a very big hit. As you might guess, it goes completely upside down as far as the intended heist, trying to help Hitler. It goes wrong in so many ways. And Jan is caught up in the middle of it, just trying to stay afloat as he's figuring out what the heck his brother even agreed to this day. The film is definitely a comedy. It's just a hilarious setup of errors that keep compounding, and nobody really comes out looking all of that smart or capable. And there was something a little bit reassuring about that. I live in the US, and I'm seeing the Rise of fascism right now. We're talking February 2025. Barely, not even a month into our new president. So to see somebody fumble all of these very capable Nazis that lived through the war, and they're sucking at the attempt to make it better. And Hitler is a baby and melodramatic. It's really cathartic on top of being funny. Obviously, time travel is the relevant sci-fi aspect to the film, although the anti-aging pills are a little bit important. There's also some sort of offense, defense, something that they do to get people out of the way that is never fully explained, but very bizarre. I like the idea of time travel being used for tourism. That actually seems really fun. And the company takes precautions. The idea is that no one leaves these rockets. They are locked in. You are only an observer. You're not going to go outside into the world during the time frame and muck something up because you interact with someone, they go off course, history has changed, it's all a nightmare. Having said that, there is zero camouflage on these rockets. The one trip we're seeing, going back during Hitler's regime, the rocket is absolutely noticed in this field, so I have no idea how this company is successful. Going around during pivotal points, during battles, during natural disasters. Dinosaurs won't care, sure, but a lot of it seems really dicey as far as maintaining our existing history. When something is a comedy, these kind of loopholes tend to not be important because the focus is not on the science, it's on the ridiculousness that's happening just because the science is fueling it. So I'm not really that fussed. It's not trying to be a hard sci-fi film by any stretch. The company also is sort of civic-minded, which is interesting. They actually have announcements happening on the company's site as people are getting set up, reminding them of trips that are for school children to better their understanding of history. And a lot of these trips seem specifically oriented to better understanding the past. It's not about trying to get in with a certain wild period during history. After all, you're not going to interact with anybody, so you won't have any fun if you're going to some sort of drunken revelry that's famous, historically speaking. I certainly found this amusing, if startling. I deliberately didn't look into the film because I prefer to not know what I'm watching and have it ruined. But then a minute in, all of these Nazi salutes just firing off, and all of these Nazis are bragging about the success that they've had over the decades and using these anti-aging pills to seduce women into a third marriage, and they're living the high life, but my gosh, they're not any better humans by any means. Jan struggled immensely to step into Carell's shoes and pretend he's this pilot and have this life because he doesn't think that his twin even appreciated it. The poor guy had no idea what was happening. He gets slapped by more than one woman, has a husband confront him for getting up with his wife, has different people trying to collect on the debts that he absolutely has out there. His would-be fiancée and her family, they certainly want him to get the ball on the road. If he didn't have the actual background with the same company, understood the rockets because he designed them, and understood how to do the trips because he put in the work to develop this as a concept. For being apparently successful, he's a hot mess. If it wasn't a comedy, Jan and those Nazis would have died so quick. It was a really goofy movie. I certainly enjoyed watching it. Heck of a surprise to see what it was actually about. I'm not going to recommend every movie I watch and then talk about here, but I'll recommend this one. If you don't mind having a goofy ride, this will bring it for you. Funnily enough, YouTube actually has quite a lot of old films that get uploaded. And if they're films that aren't in English to start with, it's not uncommon to have a film either uploaded with English subtitles or even have them embedded in the film to make that easier to access. And so this definitely ended up being like that. So if you're interested, you can definitely go to YouTube, look up the title. You can use the English title or the Czech title for it and just ask for English subtitles, and you should be able to land on it. YouTube does take things down once they start noticing them, um, but I'm not sure exactly what triggers whoever is paying attention to content on YouTube. And I'm not sure how much they care. I imagine copyright laws, depending on the country, might come into play. I don't really know. Regardless, there's actually quite a lot of stuff on there, and this movie is on there for the moment. After all, who doesn't want to see Nazis bumble around in the past and suck at it? I'll keep coming back with more, so see you soon.